happening in the world coming up on NTD News. First, our top stories. Hunter Biden is in court today, likely pleading guilty to federal tax charges. But his plea deal with the Justice Department has somewhat fallen apart. 6 people are injured, including 2 firefighters, after a crane collapses onto a New York City street this morning. The Alabama senator holding up military promotion says he'll not back down before Congress goes into a month-long recess soon. He also says no one from the Biden administration contacted him to find a solution. Former President Trump declines an invitation to meet with the governor of Iowa for a chat during the Iowa State Fair. Find out why. Welcome to NTD News Today. I'm Chris Beers. Our top news: the president's son Hunter Biden is in court today, but his plea deal appears to be on the rocks. He was expected to plead guilty to federal tax charges, with the Justice Department recommending probation. But just before noon, the department and Hunter's lawyers confirmed a disagreement. The case relates to not paying taxes on time in 2017 and 2018. The total owed was over $200,000, according to prosecutors. They also said that his income from Chinese and Ukrainian energy companies left him with ample funds to pay, but instead he spent his money on luxuries. The judge asked Hunter about his drug and alcohol abuse, to which he says he has been in and out of rehab for over 20 years, that he has been sober since mid-2019. As part of his conditions for release, Hunter cannot use drugs or drink alcohol. He can also be randomly tested. The president's son is also facing a felony gun charge, and that's the reason the deal has fallen apart. The judge asked the 2 parties to clarify if that charge is covered in the deal, and it appears that they hadn't decided. Hunter is still expected to plead guilty, but it's not clear if a deal will be reached today. A crane caught on fire and then collapsed in New York City this morning, injuring 6 people. It was carrying 16 tons of concrete when it toppled into a building. Here's the mayor.
As you see from the debris on the street, this could have been much worse. We are extremely fortunate, number one, that we were not during the busy time of the day. As you know, the Port Authority is here. Many of the buses move through here. We were extremely fortunate. We're also fortunate that the men and women of the FDNY and our first responders responded in such a manner and properly made the right evaluation of how to look at the fire that we were presented and the crisis we were presented, and coming up with the right effective solution to minimize any additional injuries.
2 of the 6 injured were firefighters. Authorities say the crane's cabin suddenly caught fire at 7:30 in the morning. It was working on a vacant building, but the top portion of the crane collapsed into an adjacent building and then crashed to the ground. No one had life-threatening injuries, but at least 3 of the injured were hospitalized. The crane had the mark of the Loma Crane Company. The company's owner faced a crane collapse case in 2008 when 2 workers were killed. Oscar-winning actor Kevin Spacey has been cleared of all charges of sexual assault. A London jury has found him not guilty of 9 accusations, including 2 against 4 men.
But I would like to say that I'm enormously grateful to the jury for having taken the time to examine all of the evidence and all of the facts carefully before they reached their decision. And I am humbled by the outcome today.
Spacey won Oscars for Best Actor in American Beauty and Best Supporting Actor in The Usual Suspects. The charges against him cover the period from 2004 to 2013. The Hollywood star was first accused of sexual assault in 2017 by actor Anthony Rapp. After the accusations came to light, Spacey was dropped from the TV drama House of Cards and removed from the movie All the Money in the World. He pleaded not guilty to all charges. The trial lasted more than 3 days. Today also marks his 64th birthday. The lone senator holding up hundreds of military promotions says he'll not back down, even with Congress going into a month-long recession soon. He also says no one from the Biden administration seriously addressed the issue with him to find a middle ground.
Republican Senator Tommy Tuberville of Alabama says he is unlikely to budge on his hold on top military promotions and nominations. Tuberville wants the military to overturn a policy that funds travel and leave for military service members who get an abortion but are legally constrained in the states in which they're stationed. Democrat says he's hurting military readiness by holding up the 300 promotions. Tuberville made his latest remarks on media outlet The Hill this week, right before the 5-week August Senate recess. Watch.
No, I'm not going to change my mind. First of all, I've had almost zero communication with the White House. I mean, if they really cared about readiness and the things that really need to be happening with our military, they'd change this back in 5 minutes and then send a bill down there to the floor and let Congress go through this.
Tuberville previously criticized the Biden administration for implementing the policy without Congress. He says they're ignoring the different branches of government and their functions.
The Biden administration has turned the DOD into an abortion travel agency. They did it by using just a memo.
The policy gives 21 days of paid leave for military members who want to get an abortion or accompany a spouse or other dependent to get one. The policy also reimburses travel costs for people who can't get an abortion locally due to state restrictions. National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby earlier this month explained why the policy is needed to guarantee military readiness.
Whether it's about female service members, 1 in 5, or female family members being able to count on the kinds of health care and reproductive care specifically that they need to serve. That is a foundational, sacred obligation of military leaders across the river.
He also said that the military is an all-volunteer force, so it's to the benefit of the U.S. providing this service to troops. Also this month, President Biden called Senator Tuberville's hold irresponsible. Biden called on the Republican Party to do something against Tuberville's standoff.
A confidential Pentagon memo states transgender soldiers can delay employment by 300 days if they're using hormones to transition. What else does it permit? And what are critics saying? I spoke with Epoch Times reporter Darlene Sanchez to find out. Darlene Sanchez, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Chris.
Darlene, what does this memo say exactly?
Well, this was a memo that came out in February, but it's been kind of, put, they've actually kind of, underplayed it and not really wanted it out there. But it's a blueprint, basically, of how the military will go about offering soldiers transgender care, basically.
And what does it say about that offering?
Well, it goes into detail about what they are eligible for, which is like top surgery, bottom surgery, that's what they call it. But basically it's, either breast implants or mastectomies and then other, bottom surgeries. All of that is offered. Some of it's offered at that particular medical facility in the military and some of it isn't. They would have to actually, have other facilities take over that type of care.
And what's the purpose for the guidelines outlined in this memo?
I think it's just to get everybody on board to, here are the procedures. They even had, how you're supposed to code it, things like that. It was basically a blueprint so everybody would follow the same guidelines, down to where once a soldier actually said, I'm a man or I'm a woman, whichever that they identified with, that then they could ask for waivers and start dressing like their preferred gender and even get a physical fitness waiver as well.
Now, this memo has been pretty controversial. What are critics saying about it?
Well, I think, like, for example, neuropsychologist Alan Hopewell, who, has been kind of on the forefront of this, he was in the military for 28 years. He's been in the psychiatric field for 50 years. And he says that this is just exactly what he feared, that these transgender soldiers, first of all, he says that they're mentally unstable because just that, it is a mental disability, he says, and put stress of combat in there, and also with hormones that have been known to cause, mood swings and shifts in even the way people behave and their personalities. He said that's really a dangerous combination.
Yeah, it sounds like that. How would that affect things on the battlefield for these soldiers?
Well, that's what he says. Basically, he thinks that the military needs to do a study about these hormones in particular, and how they're going to actually make that viable, when you're deployed, to, a conflict situation, because they're not going to have the same type of medical facilities and care available, in the field, when they're fighting a war. So he says he feels like that they will never be combat ready. And if they do go into combat, that it could be a problem because of the lack of medical care, and also because, if they're not mentally stable and they're out there in that situation, it could endanger them, or their fellow soldiers.
Well, Epoch Times reporter Darlene Sanchez, thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up, buying major items like homes and vehicles may soon be a little more expensive. The Federal Reserve is expected to announce interest rate hikes today. And Amazon faces a wide-ranging lawsuit from the Federal Trade Commission. More in just a moment, here on NTD News Today.
I had a pretty normal mom life. Everything was pretty good, and it was a very happy life.
And we just had a new baby. And then all of a sudden, within a day or two, she's on life support and fighting for her life.
And I knew something was pretty wrong. A little less than a week after I came home, I couldn't breathe. That's when we decided to go to the hospital. I was given the diagnosis that I had peripartum cardiomyopathy, which is basically a pregnancy-induced heart failure. They told me my only chance was a heart transplant.
And the American Heart Association helped make that possible. Their research helped save me.
This could not happen without monthly donations from friends like you. Your sustained support helps fund life-saving research that leads to medical breakthroughs, like those that gave Jen a second chance at life. Heart disease is the #1 killer in America, and we urgently need your help to save lives. Go to helpheart.org or call now to become a monthly donor today. Your donation of only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, will make a difference through prevention, early detection, treatments, and cures that help save lives.
I am very thankful for the American Heart Association. I'm grateful for just every day that I get with my children.
Please go to helpheart.org or call now with your donation of just $19 a month. Join our community of monthly donors, and you'll get this limited edition t-shirt you could wear to show you're helping save lives.
One simple act today can save your life or the life of a loved one.
So please, call or go to helpheart.org now to help save lives.
Anyone who's ever sold a home will tell you it's really hard. And it's one of the biggest financial decisions you'll ever make. That's why who you work with matters. Together with HomeLight, we take care of every detail.
Welcome back. Former President Trump has declined an invitation from the governor of Iowa. She's inviting all Republican presidential candidates for chats at the Iowa State Fair. Almost every GOP candidate accepted Governor Kim Reynolds' invitation. With its first in the nation caucuses, Iowa is often seen as a key indicator of whether a candidate has a chance in securing their party's nomination. The Fairside Chats, as they're called, are scheduled for August 10th through August 18th in Des Moines, Iowa. Trump endorsed Reynolds during both her elections, but his opinion of the governor appears to have soured in recent months amid her decision not to return the favor. In an interview with the Des Moines Register in February, she pledged to remain neutral on the presidential primary race in order to make all candidates feel welcome to the Iowa caucuses. Earlier this month, in a Truth Social post, former President Trump expressed dissatisfaction with her for that choice. New York Congressman George Santos will face yet another challenge for his congressional seat. Mike Saperconi announced his decision to run on Tuesday. He's a retired NYPD detective and a local business leader living in Queens. The embattled Santos now has 9 opponents looking to unseat him. The freshman congressman is facing a 13-count federal indictment and censure from Congress. Saperconi pledged to bring back honest public service to the 3rd District Congressional Office. Connecticut authorities are accusing the brother of the late football star Aaron Hernandez of planning school shootings. The Department of Corrections reporter Dennis Hernandez has been arrested and charged with threatening and breach of peace. Arrest documents stated he appeared to be planning shootings at the University of Connecticut and Brown University. He had connections to both schools. He used to be the football team's captain at UConn and coached at Brown. An ex-girlfriend told Bristol police about his alleged plans and revealed other threatening texts. That's all according to a warrant. Hernandez is set to be in court next week. He's the brother of Aaron Hernandez, the former New England Patriots star who was convicted of murder and later killed himself in prison. The U.S. may soon have a new cybersecurity director. The White House announced that President Biden will nominate Harry Coker for the job. Coker is a national security expert and has been a public servant for over 4 decades. He served 20 years in the U.S. Navy, then he held various positions in both the CIA and the NSA. He currently works for a cybersecurity institute at Auburn University. If confirmed, Coker will help implement Biden's new national cybersecurity plan released back in March 2023. The position has gone unfilled since February after the previous director resigned. The Federal Trade Commission is finalizing its long-awaited antitrust lawsuit against Amazon in a move that could ultimately break up parts of the company. According to Politico, the wide-ranging lawsuit is expected as soon as August. The report says it will likely challenge a host of Amazon's business practices. The complaint could focus on challenges to Amazon Prime, Amazon pricing rules, and policies that allegedly force merchants to use Amazon's logistics and advertising services. The report says the commission has interviewed dozens of witnesses, both inside and outside Amazon, including CEO Andy Jassy and former CEO and founder Jeff Bezos. It's likely to file the case in the federal court rather than in its own House tribunal. Buying major items like homes and vehicles may soon be a little more expensive. The Federal Reserve is expected to announce interest rate hikes at 2 p.m. Eastern Time today. Inflation in the U.S. has cooled significantly in about 3%. However, the Federal Reserve wants it down to 2%. That's why many economic analysts say the Fed will announce federal rate increases despite the potential threat to the economy. Some analysts say rate hikes could restrict the country economically, while others say holding rates steady could result in persistently high inflation. If the expected rate boost happens, it will mark the 12th since last spring and the highest rate in 22 years. The European Central Bank is also expected to raise rates on Thursday, even amid signs of an economic slowdown. And analysts predict the Bank of Japan will keep rates unchanged. And here to talk to me about the Federal Reserve rate hike decision is my good friend and colleague, NTD Business's Don Ma. Don, can you tell us more about the meeting this afternoon?
Yeah, sure. Well, what I'm seeing is that stocks around the world fell earlier this morning. We'll see where they end up later today. But investors were more on the cautious side ahead of the Federal Reserve decision later today. As you mentioned, the Fed will announce the hike at 2 p.m. And then afterwards, Chair Powell will give a press conference.
What are investors going to be looking for out there?
Investors will be looking for more details around that potential hike. It could happen at the September or November meeting, but it's also possible that July could see the last hike of this cycle. The second hike coming in December is unlikely, but it's possible if inflation reemerges because of an unforeseen economic shock.
And what are the chances of a rate increase today?
Well, Chris, I think you would be pretty safe betting on another hike today. And since you asked, let's hear what a market analyst had to say on the chances, who I spoke to earlier today. And joining me now is Joseph Trevisani, senior analyst at FX Street. So I guess the biggest question, are we going to see a hike today? What do you think?
I don't think there's any question. As 100% as you can say in the Fed world, and it never is 100%, we will see a hike today. The Fed has telegraphed it. On top of that, more importantly, the market totally expects it. And if the Fed did not hike today, you would see a pretty serious reaction in both the equities and the bonds, particularly the bonds, and the Fed does not want that.
What's motivating the Fed to want to hike today?
The Fed is running a two-track program. It's running its Fed funds track, of which we know what the result has been, over 500 basis point hikes. But it's also running an opinion, if you will, the rhetoric, to affect the market rates, to affect what is current in the bond market. And that's what today's rate is really aimed at, and that's what today's rhetoric is really aimed at. The Fed does not want to see market rates, Treasury rates, come off, even if everyone, including the Fed, although they don't quite admit it, thinks they're getting very close to the end of this rate cycle.
Do you think Powell will telegraph perhaps another hike after this one?
I think what he's going to say is, yes, inflation has come off, but the Fed is still very wary, they probably use the word wary, but very aware of the potential for recurrence, and another rate is always in the cards. I don't think he's going to telegraph it, but I think he's going to say that it's very possible that the Fed will do that. After all, as I said, the Fed projection back in June posited 5.6 for the Fed funds at the end of the year.
Do you think this is the last rate hike from the Federal Reserve?
No, I think you'll probably get one more. I think the Fed will be very comfortable in reaching its own projection, which is 5.6, as I said. But again, in September, the end of the summer, when everybody comes back from their vacations, we're going to get another projection. And that, I think, will be very indicative of what the Fed is going to do. My guess is they will match whatever that projection is.
Okay, just one final question.
Sure.
Under what circumstances do you think the Fed will actually cut rates?
If job growth collapses or goes negative. I think that would be the absolute, because if that happens, if suddenly you get a cessation in hiring and people start getting laid off, that flows through to everything else in the economy. That flows through, of course, to the consumer sector, and that is the engine that drives the U.S. economy. So I think that would be the key. It's been the key for a long time that the Fed has focused on jobs. They both said so, and it has been, I think, the key telltale for where their policy is going to go.
All right. Thank you so much today. It was great talking to you.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
A bipartisan Senate bill wants to crack down on hidden fees from resorts and hotels, but an industry group says it's a problem that doesn't need to be solved. The Hotel Fees Transparency Act would create federal guidelines for transparency in pricing. It would require the final price of a hotel room or short-term rental be posted up front. The bill comes after President Biden mentioned the issue at his February State of the Union address. He said his administration would target junk fees in a variety of industries. The managing editor at The Points Guy said he doesn't think it's fair that hotels are charging extra for things that used to be included in the room rate. The American Hotel and Lodging Association says that its poll found that resort fees are rare and that 80% of hotel visitors are willing to pay them if the stay was worthwhile. A Salmonella outbreak has sickened at least 16 people across 4 states in the Northeast. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says 6 of the individuals had to be hospitalized. So far, there have been no related fatalities. Investigators say they've spoken to more than a dozen of the patients, most of whom said they remembered recently eating ground beef from ShopRite stores. The CDC says the states affected by the outbreak are New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Massachusetts. The source of the outbreak has not been located and no recalls have been issued as of yet. People who get infected with Salmonella often suffer stomach problems and fevers, but usually recover within a week. However, it can pose a more serious threat to the younger and elder populations. The CDC says Salmonella germs die when the meat's internal temperature reaches 160 degrees. When we return, the latest foldable phone from Samsung it features a new zero-gap hinge. Find out more about the new tech just unveiled and sold. A tire company is combining its products with NASA's space technology. What makes them different from traditional tires? We'll have the details when we return.
NTD's Capital Report. It's about getting answers, cutting through the fog of politics. It's about your questions and our chances to ask.
What is the net impact of the American Congressman Graves? Thank you for joining us.
We're speaking to those in power to find out what does this mean for the people. We're here so you are in the know.
Good morning. I'm Evelyn Lee.
And I'm Kevin Hogan.
The stories that need to be told, the voices that need to be heard, the truth that you need to see. Get unbiased and in-depth news. Don't miss a beat. I'm Stephanie Cox. At NTD, we're here for you.
What does it mean to devote your life to the truth? Does it mean investigating communist subversion here in America? Does it mean exposing the deadly fentanyl crisis in the Midwest? Or spending late nights and covering deep government corruption? Because at a time when America's traditional values are under attack, it's the responsibility of righteous journalists to uphold truth and tradition.
Welcome back, everyone. From manual laborers to college graduates, concerns about jobs and incomes are sweeping China. The world's second largest economy is now grappling with a post-pandemic slowdown and skyrocketing unemployment rate. For youth between 16 and 24, the unemployment rate hit a record 21% last month. Since the country only covers those actively seeking jobs, an economist said the real number might reach almost 50%. While the young may settle for low-paying jobs, those in the retirement age are also struggling to keep their families afloat. What's behind the trend? China's real estate market and constructions once accounted for a quarter of economic growth. The sector is now on a downward spiral. As a result, debts are piling up for local levels of the Chinese regime. Weak exports also continue to weigh on economic growth. Meanwhile, according to British consumer goods giant Unilever, China's consumer confidence has tumbled to a historic low. Swiss engineering group ABB also reported a fall of 9% in orders with China during the second quarter. The continued engagement between U.S. elites and communist China is alarming because China is engaged in a, quote, people's war with the U.S. That's according to Bradley Thayer, a founding member of the Committee on the Present Danger China and co-author of Understanding the China Threat. I spoke with him earlier today. Bradley Thayer, thank you for joining us.
It's my pleasure to join you today.
Bradley, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has stressed the importance of high-level talks with China. What has the effectiveness of such talks been in the past?
I think the effectiveness has been very modest. The visit of Janet Yellen or climate czar John Kerry or U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, there have been a host of Biden administration officials who've gone to China or have met with their Chinese colleagues outside of China, and that has not served to improve relations with China in any way. And that's largely because the administration is advancing a position of weakness rather than a position of strength. And so it should not expect to resolve any of the major issues that the U.S. has with China through those types of meetings. And they are interpreted by the Chinese leadership, the Chinese Communist Party leadership, as indications of weakness of the U.S.
Now, Bradley, you suggested the Biden administration is using a strategy called compartmentalization. Can you tell us what that means?
Certainly, it's common in negotiations to, even though there may be tension in a relationship, to focus on specific items. For example, arms control or the climate or economic and trade issues. And by so doing, seeking to advance progress in that area. The error of compartmentalization with China is that the Chinese Communist Party is intent at evicting the United States from its position in international politics. It's a profound threat to the U.S. and U.S. global interests. Therefore, compartmentalization is almost by definition doomed to fail.
And now it's not just U.S. officials visiting China. In the past month, elites like Bill Gates and Henry Kissinger have also met with Chinese leader Xi Jinping, actually. What do you make of these meetings?
Well, they're a continuation in the case of Bill Gates and the other individuals who've met with China of making the effort to sustain and to communicate a willingness to the Chinese Communist Party of helping China in dire economic circumstances, seeking to maintain good relations with the Chinese Communist Party. That's a gross mistake because Bill Gates is threatened by the Chinese Communist Party just as much as anyone else is, American citizens around the world, or indeed the citizens of China are. So the effort to facilitate the relationship with the Chinese Communist Party may help Microsoft, but it doesn't help the larger national security interests of the U.S., its allies and partners, or help the position of the Chinese people.
And you mentioned this briefly, but what does all this mean for U.S. national security?
It means that the Biden administration is continuing to engage in what is termed the engagement school of thought, which is by engaging in economic relations trade with the Chinese Communist Party. The Chinese Communist Party will profit, and the U.S. will as well. It's profoundly mistaken. It's mistaken because the Chinese Communist Party is intent on destroying the United States, having declared war on the U.S., most recently in 2019, People's War. But it's a continuation of failure, investment in a failed policy. And it's sad to see the Biden administration pursuing this.
Bradley Thayer, thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
South Korean electronics giant Samsung unveiled its latest generation of foldable smartphones today. The company's new device features a new zero-gap hinge and other updates, and NTD's Andrew Thomas has the details.
Samsung presented its Flip 5 and Fold 5 in Seoul on Wednesday. According to Counterpoint Research, Samsung held nearly 2/3 of the foldable phone market in the first quarter of 2023.
The Flip is undoubtedly the story of this launch. It's a really beautiful product. Samsung is the market maker for foldables, and they've taken it to the next level. But they've also had to do that because the competitive landscape has intensified as well.
Samsung says the new Flip 5 and Fold 5 screens are 25% more durable. They feature Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processors specifically made for Samsung smartphones. The main improvement is a zero-gap hinge. The feature allows the smartphones to fold flat instead of the triangular shape of previous generations.
I think the overall compactness of these devices, although it's slightly marginal, and the weight reductions as well, just make them more comfortable in the hand, just make it a more refined experience, and certainly it means that it raises the competitive benchmark.
The Fold 5 is getting a slightly revamped multitasking app dock. Up to 4 of the most recently used apps automatically appear at the bottom of the screen.
They can see a real opportunity to try and seduce people away from iPhone, or at least keep them away from iPhone, with a new device with a new form factor, with nice colors and a lovely user experience.
Counterpoint Research says global foldable phone shipments are expected to double in 2023 compared to 2022. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
Airless tires, first devised for lunar rovers, could make punctures a thing of the past on Earth. They're also much more sustainable than traditional all-rubber tires. That's according to the Smart Tire company. Here's a closer look.
These airless tires were invented by NASA for roving around on the moon. But now an LA-based company is bringing the technology back down to Earth. According to the Smart Tire company, the tires are airless, durable, and will never go flat, making them more sustainable and durable than traditional all-rubber tires.
So you have these little spring coils going around, and you have these radial elements.
The tyres have a springy mesh design made of shape memory alloy, or SMA.
And dispenses it in evenly, which is unlike any other tire. What makes shape memory alloys so special is it's like a super elastic material. It's a very flexible, lightweight metal that's elastic like rubber, but strong like titanium. So you can actually deflect a tire way down to the rim, and it would just always bounce back to its original shape. So you're able to use this as a structural element in a tire now, so you don't need any pressurized air. So that means an airless tire, punctures don't matter, it would never ever get a flat, so your tire can last the life of your vehicle.
Despite immense advances in car technology, Cole says tyres haven't changed much in over 100 years. But with regulators turning their scrutiny to tyre pollution, tyre makers are under pressure to practically reinvent the wheel. Scrap tyres are a major environmental problem worldwide due to their bulk and the chemicals they can release. When tyres make contact with the road, tiny particles are abraded and emitted. And ironically, that problem is set to become bigger with electric vehicles, given the extra weight of EVs due to their batteries. The smart tyre company hopes to offer a solution while tapping into an industry worth hundreds of billions of dollars.
This will last much longer than your average tire. So the one key element is not only no flats and it's more sustainable because we use less rubber, but you won't have to throw the whole tire away when the tread wears out. It's going to be one of the first retreadable tires.
On smart tyres, the only rubber part is the tread, the thin, sheath-like outer part that gives grip on the road, which can be replaced without throwing away the whole tyre, as is currently the case.
So the only thing you have to change is the tread, which is far more cost-effective than throwing out the whole tire and getting a whole new set of tires.
The company says tens of thousands of people worldwide have already joined the waiting list for their first commercial product.
See the shape memory alloy?
An airless, smart bicycle tyre, set to launch in spring 2024.
The Chevy Bolt is back from the dead. General Motors confirmed it's bringing the electric vehicle back to the market. Tuesday, the automaker announced it plans to introduce a new model of the Bolt EV, but GM did not share a timeline for the new release and left out specific details about the next generation Bolt. The company did say the new electric vehicle model will feature the latest in GM's flexible electric vehicle architecture called Ultium. General Motors has said that Ultium battery tech will be the basis of its future vehicles. This announcement comes a few months after GM decided it would end production of the Bolt EV. At the time, the car maker noted the popular EV model did not use the Ultium platform, unlike its other newer electric vehicles. After the break, British billionaire Joe Lewis is charged over insider trading schemes. The owner of Tottenham Hotspur's soccer team was found leaking confidential business information to friends and partners. And the head of one of Britain's biggest banks has resigned after coming under pressure for closing a former politician's bank account. More shortly here on NTD News Today.
And we're fed up. Fed up with the fact that hunger robs children of their childhood. Fed up with the lack of progress. Fed up with the injustice. Help us brighten the lives of children all over the world by visiting getfedupnow.org. For as little as $10 a month, you can join Save the Children as we support children and families in desperate need of our help. Now is the time to get fed up and give back. When you join the cause, your $10 monthly donation can help communities in need of life-saving treatments and nutrients. Prevent children from dropping out of school. Support our work with communities and governments to help children go from short-term surviving to long-term thriving. And now, thanks to special government grants, every dollar you give before December 31st can multiply up to 10 times the impact. That means more food, water, medicine, and help for kids around the world. You'll also receive a free tote bag to share your support for children in need. Childhood without food is unimaginable. Get fed up. Call us now or visit getfedupnow.org today.
celebrate the power of food and fun on Ganjing World, the fastest growing online platform. You could win up to $1,000 in cash by sharing videos of memorable meals, recipes, or ideas for dinner parties. Upload your videos using the hashtag #MealTimeTogether through July and August for a chance to win up to $1,000. Enter now.
Back to the news. A Premier League owner is caught in an insider trading scandal. Joe Lewis, British billionaire and owner of Tottenham Hotspur Soccer Club, is facing criminal charges in New York.
Today I'm announcing that my office, the Southern District of New York, has indicted Joe Lewis, the British billionaire, for orchestrating a brazen insider trading scheme.
According to Manhattan-based U.S. Attorney Damian Williams, Lewis slipped confidential business information to others, including his employees, friends, or lovers. Williams described the move as classic corporate corruption and deception.
We allege that for years, Joe Lewis abused his access to corporate boardrooms and repeatedly provided inside information to his romantic partners, his personal assistants, his private pilots, and his friends. Those folks then traded on that inside information and made millions of dollars in the stock market.
Lewis founded the investment firm Tavistock Group. According to Forbes, the 86-year-old boasts a net worth of over $6 billion. He's been charged with 16 counts of securities fraud and 3 counts of conspiracy, with alleged offenses spanning from 2013 to 2021. A major UK bank CEO stepped down today after admitting to a serious error of judgment. Former NatWest CEO Alison Rose was discussing former Brexit Party leader Nigel Farage's ties with the bank. NatWest's private bank, Coutts, closed Farage's accounts and has faced intense political and media scrutiny over the decision. An internal review showed Coutts' reputational risk committee said his values didn't align with the bank. In a post on Twitter today, Farage called for further resignations. According to a NatWest statement, the head of the bank's commercial and institutional business will helm the company for an initial period of 12 months. EU officials announced that for the first time in decades, Americans will soon need to buy a travel visa to Europe. U.S. citizens have enjoyed visa-free travel to Europe for many years. Starting in 2024, that will come to an end. European Union authorities announced the rule change affecting over 1 billion people, including U.S. citizens. The reason for the change is to improve border security. EU officials say that over 90% of online applicants will be approved in minutes. The cost of the new visa-type document will be about $8. The document will allow for up to 90 days of travel in the 27 EU member countries. Dramatic footage from Peru. 2 vans and a motorized vehicle collided in the capital, Lima. Local media say 21 people were injured. At least 3 remain in intensive care. Footage released by local authorities Monday captured the moment of the collision. A pedestrian was seen narrowly avoiding being hit by one of the vehicles. At the scene, bystanders rushed to help those involved in the accident, including one of the van drivers. The cause of the crash is not immediately available. Coming up, over 1,000 Viking reenactors gather at a fortress in Denmark for a battle. Meanwhile, historians hope the venue will be added to Unesco's World Heritage List. Details to come on NTD News Today.
My employees and I are excited to announce it's our 20th anniversary, and to celebrate, we're bringing you a limited edition MyPillow. The Giza Elegance MyPillow is made with the most amazing cotton, 2-inch pipe gusset, comes in 4 custom loft levels, and it's machine washable and dryable.
When I got MyPillow,
I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. That's why we've been around for 20 years, because MyPillow works.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get your limited edition 20th anniversary MyPillow queen size. Retails for $69.98, now only $19.98. That's right, only $19.98.
With my 60-day money-back guarantee, you have nothing to lose.
Sleep well, America!
Stay tuned to get 2 rolls of alien tape free. You wouldn't stick your mother-in-law on the wall, but you could with alien tape. It just sticks. Just peel and stick to make anything stay in place quick. Brick, pavers, marble, tile, plastic, even leather. Nothing works better than alien tape. You wouldn't stick your fishbowl on a moving car, but you could with alien tape. The secret is nano-stick technology that grabs and locks on to secure one side of the surface to the other. Alien tape secures in seconds, then twist, pull, and rinse to reuse. Call or go online to get your first roll of alien tape for just $19.99, plus shipping and processing. But to make this deal really stick, we'll give you 2 more rolls absolutely free. You get 3 rolls of alien tape for one low price. Order now.
To order, call 1-800-490-1364 or go to tryalientape.com. So call 1-800-490-1364 or order online at tryalientape.com.
2023, the 10th NTD International Classical Chinese Dance Competition aims to promote the traditional art of classical Chinese dance. From September 4th to 7th, top dancers from around the world will compete in skill and showcase talent at the Sugarloaf Performing Arts Center in New York. The Gold Award is $10,000. Apply now at dance.ntdtv.com.
Thanks for staying with us. Over 1,000 Vikings have gathered at a fortress in Denmark for battle reenactments and a celebration of Norse culture. The location is one of 5 that historians hope will be added to the Unesco World Heritage List. NTD's Andrew Thomas has the details.
It's been over 1,000 years since Vikings fought at the Trelleborg Ring Fortress in Denmark. Now some 1,200 fans have gathered for battle reenactments and a celebration of Norse culture.
The Viking Age is one of the most important periods in Denmark and in Scandinavia because a lot happened. You have the towns, the foundation of the towns, you have the Christianization of the people.
Trelleborg and 4 other known ring forts were built during the reign of King Harald Bluetooth Gormson. The Viking ruled Denmark from the 950s to the 980s. Reenactments are serious business. Some participants train year-round.
It doesn't take much to tip the battle. 10 people on one side can really tip it, but also the right 5 people on the other side can tip it also. So it really is a numbers and an experience game. We train a lot.
The reenactments are part of the Trelleborg Viking Festival. The annual gathering includes food, music, and crafts. The event is one of Denmark's largest Viking festivals.
For the Vikings, it's a lifestyle. They are Vikings by heart, and they seek these markets and festivals to be together. And when you live like a Viking, you become completely calm in the end.
The reign of King Harald was an important period in Danish history. Swedish telecommunications giant Ericsson even named its Bluetooth wireless technology after the king. Many hope to have the 5 Danish ring forts added to UNESCO's World Heritage List.
I absolutely hope that the fortress gets UNESCO status. It is a stunning architectural and archaeological site that absolutely deserves that sort of protection.
A decision is expected at a gathering in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia this September. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
There's a unique feature to the humble cucumber that can help us lose weight. Here's Gina Marie with Strong Mind and Body.
Cucumbers have been used since ancient times for weight loss. The benefits are due to their high water content and low calorie count.
In addition to containing rich nutrients, they can also help people to maintain an ideal weight. This is according to renowned Japanese physician Dr. Takashi Tsurumi.
He's famous for his research on enzyme nutrition and introducing a simple cucumber weight loss method.
The method involves grinding cucumber into a pulp and including it in every meal. He says that cucumbers and raw vegetables contain enzymes which govern our vital functions. He also mentioned that they boost our metabolism, improve our intestinal environment, achieve better health, and maintain an ideal weight.
Tsurumi's book can be roughly translated as the grated cucumber diet.
He discovered that cucumbers contain an enzyme called lipase, which aids in breaking down fats. Lipase is also present in kefir and other vegetables like cabbage and avocados. But Tsurumi's research points to cucumbers having a stronger ability to break down fat. This is compared to other foods containing lipase.
If you grind the cucumber into a pulp, it breaks the cell membranes. This multiplies the enzyme and increases its fat-burning activity.
Let's look at how the diet functions. The cucumber method involves adding grated cucumbers to daily meals. You can mix them into dressings or use them as a substitute for grated daikon with grilled fish or meat. Simply chewing a whole cucumber slowly and thoroughly can also generate more enzymes than usual.
Tsurumi's research suggests that the best results are seen after following the routine for at least a month.
You can eat cucumbers with just about anything. Try them with meat, eggs, rice, noodles, salads, and smoothies.
Thank you for tuning in today. I'm Chris Beers.
Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Did you know YouTube only keeps selective videos on its platform? So if you want to make sure you get the full picture, just subscribe to our newsletter. Go to newsletter.ntd.com and sign up. It's free.